Starting. My pranams to all Atma Jyotis, divine light of the self. Today we contemplate on universal love. What is love? Love is a great feeling, a feeling of being connected to others, a feeling of oneness with the other. Love makes us feel expanded. I become larger in love. When there is no love, I start shrinking. The love is a feeling of being connected with something more than me, something larger than me. It is the love which holds the universe. Everything in the universe is held by love. If there is no love, the universe will break down. The entire activities of the universe will break down. Love of the mother for the child, not only in human beings, animals, birds. Love of a man to woman, parents to children, and in business relationships. Everywhere, the primary factor which holds human relationship together is love. Strangely, in English, the love has only one word, love, whereas Sanskrit expresses love in different words. There's no equivalent word I can translate in English for Sanskrit words. So I'll use the Sanskrit word. There is a small story which comes to my mind from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. There's a great sage called Yajnavalkya. He was a very rich man and he was an enlightened sage. He was very famous. Kings had given a lot of wealth to him. One day he decides to renounce everything and go to forest as a monk. Then he calls his wife, two wives. He had two wives called Katyayani and Maitreyi, and tells them he distributes the wealth equally among them and says, I am going to forest. I am renouncing my ashram, my wealth, and I am giving equal share to both of you. Then wife Maitreyi asks him, what makes you do this? Okay. Can the wealth give me eternal happiness? If you are renouncing the wealth, that must be something which is greater you are seeking, which you are trying to get. What is that? Why are you leaving the wealth and going to the forest? What makes you do that? Anything in life we do only when we get something greater. So, for example, I leave my job and go for another job if there is a more money in that or more better prospects are there. Unless something greater I achieve, greater I get, I will not give up the smaller. This is the nature of the mind. Mind always seeks something more, something better before it can give up the lower. So what is that you are doing, oh my dear husband? That's what Maitreyi asks. This conversation between Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi comes in Upanishad called Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. The teaching of Yajnavalkya to Maitreyi is a beautiful discourse on the aspect of love. What is love all about? So Yajnavalkya says to Maitreyi, "Oh Maitreyi, please understand, nobody loves anybody else for the sake of the other person, but for the sake of the self, Atma. Everybody loves others for the sake of Atma, the self. Husband loves wife because of love of her Atma and love of his own Atma, the self. Atma is same. The self is same in both. It is important that we realize the self. Each of us realize ourselves, because that's the only thing which we can love and only reason we love. The teaching is called Atma Reva Drashtavyam Shrotavyam Mantitavyam. Oh Maitreyi, only thing worth in the world is to know about Atma. Listen to teaching of the self-realization, Atma Dhyana. Nothing else is worth. Drashtavyam, you have to realize the self. Mantitam, you have to contemplate on self. That is the most important aspect in your life. I am leaving my ashram, I am leaving my wealth to you so that I can spend more time with my own self, Atma. So this is the teaching of Yajnavalkya. The self or the Atma, because I'll use the word self for the self or Atma for the our essential nature, and Jiva for the individual consciousness, is only worth knowing. Everything else is not worth it. All other efforts are worthless, useless. This is the teaching of Yajnavalkya. So let us understand why. When I say I love something, okay, or somebody, why do I say that? The love for something is not for the sake of the object. Suppose I say I love car. It's not for the sake of car I love. It is for my sake. It's for my sake I love car. Why do I love my sake? Why do I love car? By having the car, by buying the car, I will feel joyful. It increases my joy. It increases my happiness. Do I love my car or do I love my happiness? Really, for the sake of my happiness, I love my car. It's not that I love my car. I love car. Who wants to love car, paying some 30 lakhs or 40 lakhs, but ultimately and working hard for that? You are actually not working or loving the car. You are loving the happiness which you derive from the car. Is it clear? That is true for anything, whether it's car or objects or money or promotion or job. Everything I love because it gives me happiness. If it doesn't give me happiness, I don't love. Actually, in fact, I hate it. So what I really love is happiness. So why do I love happiness? Happiness seems to be natural to me. Unhappiness seems to be unnatural to me. How happiness seems to be unnatural to me? Somebody comes into your house. If he is unhappy, you ask him, why are you unhappy? You seem to be sad. Is there a problem? If somebody is happy, you don't ask, why are you happy? There's no reason as for happiness, but there is always reason as for unhappiness. Why your face is dull? Why are you feeling sad? Is there a problem? So you have to give a reason for being unhappy, but being happy you don't have to give a reason. Happiness is our natural state. So I love happiness because it's my natural to me. What is not natural to me, I don't love. I hate. So through cars, through objects, I try to acquire more and more happiness. This is why I love something or somebody. So love is not for the sake of the object, but love is for the sake of happiness. And happiness is my natural state. And the natural state of the self is called Atma. I am the self. When I use the word self, SCLF, capital SCLF, self means Atma. The happiness is the nature of myself. That's why I love the objects, not because of the objects. So then why do I love object at all? Because I'm not feeling the adequate love of myself all the time. I'm seeking the love from something else, which is my own nature. I'm not feeling the adequate love from myself. Myself means Atma, higher self. Once I use the word self, you have to always to take it as Atma. The love of myself, I'm not feeling it, but I have a desire that I have to get the love of the self all the time. That I start looking in the objects outside, whereas the self is innermost to me. So there is a story. Mullah Nasruddin is looking for something in the street light. People come and ask Mullaji, what are you looking for? He says, my wedding ring is I lost. So I'm searching for that. They also start searching, and finally they come to a conclusion the ring is not there. Then they ask Mullaji, where did you lose? I lost the ring in my house. Then why are you searching in the street? In my house, there's no light. I'm searching where this light. So similarly, somewhere the happiness of the self is lost for us. That's why we look for happiness in the object. We are not looking for the object, but we are looking for happiness. We love objects not because of the objects, but because the happiness which I can get. And happiness is my real nature, which I'm not feeling it, experiencing it. That's why I start looking for happiness outside, but really you should have looked for happiness inside. Then the question comes, what do you really love? Are you loving the car? Or are you loving the happiness which you get from the car? Are you loving the self? The real love is only for the self, Atma. Because self is of the nature of happiness. Self is of the nature of bliss. All our love is only for the self, Atma. Only for the self, we love something else. Not for any other reason. Only for the love of the self, we love something in the world. Because self is love. The Atma is of the nature of love. Atma is of the nature of happiness. That's why I love myself. And that's why I love others. Then how can love connect people? How the world is held up by love? The entire world, the family, the society, the country, and the companies, everything is held by some deeper aspect of love. So if people are not getting the enough love of the self, They are trying to get love from outside. What is the inward search gets directed outwards. Husband loves wife not because of the wife, but because of the love for his own self, Atma. Everything in the world is for the love of the self, Atma. Is that clear? Because the nature of Atma or the self is happiness, and nature of self, Atma, is love, prem, love. That's why we love others. Now here the question comes, if the nature of self is Atma, why do I love others? Somewhere I have forgotten my own nature. I have forgotten my own self. When I forget my own self, I start looking for happiness from outside, which is the nature of myself. I identify myself with the body and the mind and the intellect. I identify myself with the power and position or the role, doctor, engineer. My real self nature is forgotten. The real nature of self is forgotten. So then what happens? You identify with the self. The self awareness is not there, self identification is there. When the self identification is there, the infinite love and happiness of the self becomes limited to that role, that identity. When the infinite becomes finite, there is a craving for more. That craving leads to love for objects in the world. I have forgotten my real self and real self, Atma. Then I start identifying myself with the body. Body is limited. The self is infinite. The love is infinite. Love of self is infinite. Happiness of self is infinite. So, but when I forget that and identify it limited, there's a deep craving for me to get that infinite. I try to obtain it through objects of the world. Are we clear? The infinite appears to be limited because of my identification with the body and mind. Wrong identification. It is like a king who has lost his kingdom, and he, because of the enemy attack, he lost his kingdom, and he is in the forest. Even though he's in the forest, he always craves to become king again. There's a craving for the craving to become the king again. There's a craving in us to become to experience the real love or infinite love of the self. That makes us look for happiness in the objects. Right? This is what is called, this is the nature of love. We love only ourself. So if you list some 3 people whom we love, I love my wife, I love my mother, I love my father, I love my children. What is common to all of this? Only thing which is common to all of this is I. I love my. So the I is common to all of this. The I, the real I, not the false I, is Atma, the self. There's a real I and false I. False I is the identification with the self, identification with body and mind. That's called ego. The real I, because of real I only, I love the father, mother, the children, and family members. So always only object, if we call us object of our love, is our Atma, the self. This is what Abhinav is telling Maitreyi. So that he tell Maitreyi, it is worth knowing yourself. Realize yourself. That only can give you infinite happiness and love. Yadnavalkya teaches Maitreyi. So the love in Sanskrit can be told in 3 or 4 terminologies, different terminology. I will use Sanskrit words because I can't find equivalent English words easily. I love objects. Okay, we love objects. I love car. I love a cup of coffee. I love watching a movie. Right? We say so many things we say I love. There are little things, objects. Objects are not sentient. Objects don't have life. Okay. This is purely ego-based love. Love which is based on the ego. The same love of the self translates into the ego-based love. And this ego-based love in Sanskrit is called kama. Kama is very loosely translated in English as passion or desire, but I would use the word kama. Kama is for object. Kama is a desire for an object is called kama. I can love the object, but object cannot love me. This is one-way love. The kama is one-way love. Object, love for the object. Kama means only the kama is only taking. I want to take that. I want to take that. I want to acquire that. Are we clear? So the kama is love for the objects. Then comes the love for the people. This I call it as sneha. Sneha is very loosely translated in English as friendship. Okay. Sneha, the love for the objects is kama. The love for the people is called sneha. Even though in English the same word is used in all the places. Sneha is love among equals or love among the related. Why I love something? Because I see something common between me and the other. I love my wife, okay, because my wife can give me happiness. Ultimately, happiness I want to derive. In the case of objects, also objects can give me happiness, but I don't have to give anything to object. I have to pay some money. I love my wife because the wife becomes source of my happiness. But now here, it has to be reciprocated. It is not one way. There's a give and take. In the sneha, there's a give and take. In kama, there's no give and take. Kama is only acquire. Objects I can only acquire. Objects I don't have to give. Love to I love car and I buy the car. Whereas in case of sneha or friendship, equivalent of friendship, there's a give and take. I love myself. That's why I love my wife, because she gives me happiness. But in return, I have to give happiness to her. Otherwise, that relationship will not sustain. Are we clear? So there is an exchange of happiness in some way. Exchange of give and take in sneha. In kama, there is no exchange. Kama is there's only exchange of money and object acquired. In sneha, there is an exchange. The sneha is the relationship which runs the world. Everything. With my friend, I have a sneha. With my wife, I have a sneha. With my children, I have a sneha. Because I give something and I take back something. There's a give and take. There's a transaction which happens. Right? So, where is the ego more? In kama or sneha? Kama. In kama, ego is more because I am becoming the master of that. In sneha, there is an exchange which is taking place. The ego is reducing. The ego wants everything for myself. In sneha, everything cannot be myself. If I love my wife, I have to share. I have to give and take. There's a give and take there. So now ego starts becoming the ego starts attenuating. My sense of self includes my wife also. I have to give something and I have to take back something. My sense of self includes my children also. I have to give something, I have to take back something. Right? There's a reduction in the ego in case of sneha. Are you getting clear? That's why in ancient India or India, there are several processes for purification of an individual. These are called samskaras. There are 16 samskaras, Shodasha samskara. Right from the day child is born, the naming ceremony of the child, the hair cutting, all and the upanayanam, and one of the greatest ceremony of purification is called marriage. Marriage is called a purification ceremony, purification samskara, Shodash samskara, out of Shodash samskara. Why? In marriage, the boy has an ego. The boy's ego is bloated because he is the only son for the parents. The girl has an ego. She is the most beautiful woman in the town. When the two egos come together, there is no space for two egos in one place. The size of the ego has to be reduced. There's a sharing has to take place. That's why our ancestors said marriage is most purifying. Because in marriage you start learning how to share. Okay, that's where you start learning to lose some of the characteristic of the ego. Then the child comes. Before that, husband and wife only. Now the child comes into picture. It has to be shared between the husband, wife, and the child. So that's how the ego has to be reduced. This is what our ancestors say. That's why it's called marriage is called a purifying samskar, a purification methodology for the individual. So then also they prescribe, don't have the life centered your husband and wife, child. Do something for the society. You have to give back to the society what you have, a part of what you do. That is called dana. When you try to give something to society, or yadna, which is an offering, you are extending your love to beyond your husband, wife, and child, and to the society also. Your circle of love has to be increased. And this is called yadna. Dana means charity, yadna means offering. So there are 5 different types of yadna which are prescribed. Manusha yadna, service to human beings. Deva yadna, service to divine God. Bhuta yadna, service to animals and living beings. Pitra yadna, service to senior citizens. Rishi yadna, service to the master, guru, and teachings of rishis. So when you do that, your circle of love starts increasing. Otherwise, circle of love only is confined to your body and mind, individual, jiva. Real love is the self, but you are not realized the self. Atma, you are not realized. So you are thinking the body as Atma. So your love, circle of love increases to include your family and a part of the society in terms of panchayatnas. This is how you reduce the ego. Right? So this is first one is called kama. Kama is for desire for objects. I want this, I want this. Object can be power also. I want a power, I want this, I want that. Then comes neha, which is a shared love. Right? Then gradually in this love when it's shared, the ego starts losing some of its characteristics. You start becoming a purer ego, sattvic ego. A purer ego, where you start seeking, okay, I want to really realize myself. So then you turn to karma yoga, a selfless service as offering to the God. And Bhakti Yoga or devotional service to God. So Bhakti is also love. Whereas Sneha is love for the equals, Bhakti is for the love for the higher. Bhakti or devotion is love for the higher. Right? Love for God is not same as love for your wife or love for children. Your love for the wife or God, children, is they are equals for you in terms of they are also living beings. A love for the higher becomes a devotion. It's called bhakti. Okay. The devotion is two types: apara bhakti and para bhakti. Apara bhakti means you also imagine God like you. God is also like me. He has a family. He has this characteristics. You have an imagination of God. Then your love for God is called lower level love. The para bhakti is when you realize that God is of your nature, of your own self, Atma. God is not separate from you. God is your own self. It's called apara bhakti. Okay. This is called higher level love. So we start with kama, desire for objects, then sneha, friendship or relationships. Then we move into bhakti, which is called lower level bhakti called apara bhakti. Then we move into higher level bhakti called para bhakti. Then I realize God as my own self, Atma. If God is different from myself, okay, then there is a self identity still there. I am the body and mind. Then God also has a body and mind. So when I realize God as my own self, it is called apara bhakti, and that is the highest love. That's the pure love, and that's the universal love. And this is called enlightened love or awakened love. You can experience universal love only when you realize God as yourself. Jivatma is Brahman. God as my Atman. Atman and Brahman are one. Then the love is infinite. The love is not for a identity, body and mind, but love is universal. Universal love is fulfilling. There's nothing more than the universal love. The universal love can only happen when you realize your true nature as Atma, the self. And the self is Brahman or God. Universality and individuality merges. And that is infinite love. That is what we call as prema. So I discussed about kama, love for objects, sneha, love for friends and relatives, and bhakti, love for higher God, lower level bhakti, God as I imagined, and apara bhakti, the true nature of God, which is myself. And when I realize true nature of my God, then there is prema. Then I become prema swarupa. I become the nature of love. Everything else is a small drop of love which flows from my prema swarupa. The love for kama is also a small drop. It's also love only, but it flows from my nature, prema swarupa, self. Love for my friends and relatives, sneha, is also one drop of prema swarupa. Okay, bhakti, love for God, the lower level bhakti, is also one drop of my nature, prema swarupa. Apara bhakti, or the higher real love, is the infinite love. I am the ocean of love. I am the river of love. I am the prema swarupa. This is universal love. Right? So, in sneha, there's a give and take. There's a dropping of the ego. In bhakti, devotion, is there a give and take? In bhakti also, there is initially give and take. Oh God, protect me. The God is therefore protecting me, protecting my family, take care of my success. For that, I offer something to God, maybe puja. Right? That's called kamya bhakti. So there's a give and take even in bhakti, the devotion. Okay. Only thing is the devotion purifies you further, And finally, you drop the ego altogether. You realize, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect, I'm pure consciousness, Shivaswarupi. Nan, Nanembudu, Nanalla, Ideha, Manabuddhi, Nanalla, Sachidanandatma, Shivananu Nane, Shivoham, Shivoham, Shivoham. When you realize that you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the intellect. This is what who realizes the Jiva. My nature is self, Atma, pure consciousness. So then you have attained Prema Swarupa, the pure love. That pure love is infinite. And that pure love is unconditional love. There's no condition attached to that. Everywhere there's a condition attached. In Kama, the desire, there's a condition attached. In Sneha, there's a condition attached. In Bhakti, there's a condition attached. Parabhakti, there's a Aparabhakti, the condition is attached. But in Parabhakti, the supreme love, in pure love, there is no condition attached at all. It's unconditional love. In the unconditional love, there's only giving. There's no getting back anything. There's no expectation to get back anything. The one who has attained unconditional love, he is called Gnani. He is called enlightened one. He is called self-realized one. For him, there is nothing to take back. It's only giving. In Kama, there is taking. Kama, there is only taking. In Sneha, there is giving and taking. Right? In Bhakti, there is a giving and taking. I'm offering something to God and I'm taking back something from God. In Apara Bhakti, in pure love, there is nothing to take. It's only to give. The person who has reached the Apara Bhakti or supreme love just knows how to give. He becomes infinite love. He becomes an ocean of love, river of love, unconditional love. Because now he doesn't see anybody other than himself. Everybody is myself. He sees only his self in the wife, in the children, in the society, in all humanity, in all living beings. He sees only the self. Atma only. Self-love, love for the self, Atma, is the supreme love. Now, if you are able to see the love, self in all, the love has become infinite now. There are infinite number of living beings. Your love has expanded to include the entire universe. Are you getting what I'm saying? Earlier it was confined to a body, confined to two bodies, my wife and my husband. Now it encompasses all the bodies. It becomes universal love. Because myself, when I recognize yourself. When I recognize my Atma, I recognize your Atma. When I recognize your Atma, I recognize somebody else's Atma. When I recognize my Atma, I recognize the Atma in the dog. When I recognize my Atma, I recognize the dog in the monkey. Huh? So only self is there. He doesn't, that person, that wise man, awakened love, he doesn't have anything to take. He has only to give. In a sense, there's no give and take also. Because there's no giver, there's no taker. What do I give to myself and what do I take from myself? There's no giver and taker. The doer is disappeared. Up to the level of bhakti, in kama, in sneha and bhakti, there is a doer. In kama, desire, I have to earn something to get that vehicle. In prema, in sneha, I have to earn something to give my wife and wife has to do something to give me. There's an exchange. There's a doership. In bhakti, when I'm doing puja, I have to do something to God. I have to do a puja to God. That's a doership. In parabhakti, or the supreme love, also is a state of wisdom. Supreme jnana. Both mean same thing. There's no other. There's only the self. There is no, when the self alone is there, there's no give and take. There's no doer. Then what is there? There's a pure love, there's pure love, there's a supreme love, there's a supreme wisdom, there's deep silence and peace. In that silence and peace, some actions may happen by the body mind complex. But these actions are not selfish. There's no give and take. There's only giving. And this love of a realized being is not just for human beings, it is for the entire universe. In Ramana Maharshi's ashram, animals like monkeys, the birds, cow used to come and sit in front of Ramana Maharshi. The love is pure. There's no other. Whereas all other loves are selfish. There is a selfishness involved in that. Kama means selfish. I have desire for this, I have to desire for this. The moment I say I love my car, this is a selfishness there. The love for my wife or my children, there is a selfishness, but less, this is reduced because now I am giving and taking. Okay, the love for God, devotion to God, there is also selfishness. Oh God, I'm loving you. Please take care of me. There's a relationship, give and take. But in pure love or supreme love, there's no give and take at all. There's no doer, there's no giver, there's no doer. There's only merger of the infinite, pure love of the self. Individual has merged with the universal. There's no more individual. There's a universal love. That's the love of God to all. Then there's no seeking. There's no trivial things seeking. Do you understand the difference? I explained the difference between kama, sneha, aparabhakti, and parabhakti. Parabhakti is supreme love, universal love. Okay. So, what is the test of universal love? In universal love, there is no judgment at all. There is no feeling of illness or negativity to anybody. Not even a trace of bad feeling, negativity to anybody. There's only feeling of what can I give. There's no feeling of what can I get. Is this clear? Any questions? The nature of love. Okay, now let us understand the nature of love in a bit more detail. The nature of love, the life experience of love is life is duality. I see myself separate from the object. I see myself separate from the wife. I see myself separate from the relationships. True. There is a feeling of separation. That's the nature of duality. Right? The duality is nature of life. When I acquire an object, what I am trying to do? That object comes to me. Object becomes a part of me. Not dual, I am trying to convert it non-dual. Actually, the purpose of love is to experience non-duality. By taking the object and making it my own, I am trying to reduce it to non-duality. It doesn't happen, but that's what I'm trying to do. Right? When I say wife, I say my wife, I am trying to remove the duality, my and the other. The non-duality alone can give you peace. As long as there is duality, there is a stress. The duality you are trying to reduce by acquiring the objects or building relationship with other. You are trying to forget duality. not remove duality. You cannot remove duality. You can try to forget duality by building relationships. Are you clear? The whole purpose is to become non-dual. You can't become non-dual, but you are trying to become non-dual. For example, let's say I love sweet. Okay. When I love sweet, I put the sweet into my mouth. Now sweet is becoming a part of me. Okay. When sweet is becoming a part of me, my mind becomes silent. That becomes no mind. The duality has disappeared momentarily. Not really, but duality has disappeared momentarily. The momentary duality has disappearance of normality gives me joy, happiness, because my self nature appears as happiness. My nature of Atma, which is my nature of Atma, appears as happiness. Now the mind is not there. Mind is silent at that time, and mind comes up. The mind doesn't know the happiness came from the Atma. The mind associates with the jalebi, right? So temporarily you are losing the duality when you come in contact with the object. Temporarily you lose your duality when you come in contact with the people. The whole purpose is to be non-dual. When you come in contact with a friend for some time, a few days, oh, how the time has passed, I don't know, because the duality has gone momentarily. Duality is forgotten, not gone, right? Then you don't know how much time has passed, what is the time, sense of time and space is gone. When people are in love, they don't even feel the time and space because they have become one. Momentarily, they forget themselves as individuals. The jiva forgets that I am the body. There is a oneness which happens momentarily in ignorance. So what happened? The duality is forgotten, non-duality is experienced. The non-duality is experienced as happiness, but you wrongly ascribe it to the person or the object. Are we clear? So either kama or sneha or bhakti, the joy you experience is the experience of non-duality momentarily. Happiness. You experience the bliss of the self momentarily, but you attribute it wrongly to the object, the person, or puja or God. What you are experiencing is non-duality, but momentarily. Because the way you are experiencing momentarily, because it has not come through proper jnana. Without jnana, you cannot get non-duality properly. Real non-duality. Ignorance doesn't go. Right? So the entire purpose of love is non-duality. That's why it is said in Vedanta, Bhakti is the mother of Jnana. Love is the mother of wisdom. After that only wisdom comes. Oh, I have to understand my own self. That only gives pure love. So Jnana comes later. First starts with the Bhakti, devotion. The devotion also, Apara Bhakti, lower level devotion first, then gradually moves into Para Bhakti. So the entire purpose of love, entire love is about non-duality. Right? Are we clear? Now, let us see, do you see the non-dual love in life really? Is there non-dual love in life? Is it common experience or is it not common experience? Do you see non-dual love anywhere in the universe? Okay, let us understand it. Is the love of the mother to child is pure love? The love of the mother to the child is not universal love. It is not prema in that language. It is sneha, because the mother sees the child in her. The child is my child. The love is confined to the child. Right? The mother's love for the child is because of my child. Actually, I could call it a sneha, not the prema. Even though in language, in the colloquial language, you use the words interchangeably, it is really sneha for the child. Right? Understand? So, love of husband to the wife, is it sneha or prema? Huh? It is sneha, but our ancestors said that is the only love which can be transformed into prema. The sneha, the mother's love for the child cannot transform into prema, because mother will never be able to give up the idea that it is the love which is love for the body of the child. But husband and wife's love can get transformed from sneha to prema. That's why our ancestors said the marriage is a possibility of enlightenment. The marriage is most purifying. Life, wife and husband's love can be transformed into prema. That's the only love which can be transformed into prema. You know why? Initially, both husband and wife start as two individuals, two egos. They start coming together. Then they have to make a lot of adjustments and compromises. Husband has to love wife, wife has to wife, husband. Both have to know how to give to each other, give and take. In the process, ego starts reducing. Then the child comes. So the love is, ego is shared. Ego has to learn how to share. Then you start doing dharma, which means panchayadna, the service. Then the ego becomes more and more refined. Okay. In that, ego starts purifying from tamasic ego to rajasic to sattvic ego. There's a purification happens in the marriage. That's why marriage is the gateway to enlightenment. In the marriage only you can rise from sneha to prema. So that's why in ancient India, we respected many women as pativrata. The pativrata means their love for the husband became transcendent love for the self. They transcended the sneha to become pure love. Are you getting what I'm saying? You start dropping the individual love because you start losing the sense of body, mind, and intellect, and you become pure love. You become pure consciousness. They transcended their individuality to attain the universality, and those people are called pativrata. They attain the supreme love. In marriage is a possibility of transcending the sneha to prema. Not all the marriage may not happen that way. That's why our ancestors defined always focus in marriage. You have to focus on the four aspects: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Okay, kama means the kama is still object. So you transcend kama and move into dharma. Dharma means have love for the society and everybody. Then transcend into moksha. In marriage, you can transcend from prema to from sneha to prema. It's a possibility, not that everybody will happen that. It's not a guarantee that it will happen. So only when you start dropping your individual sense of ego, you will transcend into prema. That's a possibility in marriage, and that's the only possibility in marriage. Everywhere else, there's still a egoistic living possible. Okay, then there is another place where you see a transcendental love, which is called universal love, a pure love. That can happen between a master and a disciple. The master is one, the guru is one who has already transcended the body, mind, and intellect. He has become pure consciousness. He is Atma, he is the self. He has attained the pure love. Then what he can give to disciples? The love of the master to disciples is not sneha. The love of master to disciple is prema. He is prema swarupa. He is infinite love and wisdom. In that infinite love and wisdom, what can he give? He can give only teachings. And he just doesn't expect anything from the disciples. There's no expectation. It's only giving. A living master, a gnani, is prema swarupa. It is the non-dual love which is expressed to the masters. From the master to disciple, it's prema. What is the disciple to master? Is it sneha? It is not sneha. Sneha is with equals. The disciple to the master is called bhakti, devotion. Okay. Disciple sees something great in the master. Maybe in terms of wisdom, maybe in terms of behavior, he sees something greater in the master. Disciple's love for the master is called bhakti. Disciple has not transcended the bhakti to become prema, pure love. He still has the expectation. Okay. And he is trying to, there's a give and take in case of student. The student, the master is giving teaching. The student is trying to do serve the master. What is serving the master? Master doesn't expect anything to return. The serving the master also means helping the teaching. Okay, passing on the teaching. That's how we can see many disciples of the masters like Shankaracharya. They spread the teachings of the master. That is the love which disciple shows. Right? Disciple always feels his love is deficient with respect to masters because his already love is still is bhakti. Is not translated to prema. Disciple always feels still I am lacking. Okay, but the feeling of lacking itself is pure love for the master, because then disciple knows that I have to transcend the body mind complex. So now the disciple is moving from bhakti to parabhakti, which is actually prema. Are we clear? Have you understood the bhakti and devotion in totality? Prema. So we started with kama, desire for objects. Then we went into sneha, desire for love for human beings. And then desire, we went into bhakti, love for God. Lower level bhakti is bhakti with imagination. Apara bhakti is pure love, God as my own self, Atma. That's also called jnana. Right? Then we discussed how the love in a marriage is called sneha, can be transformed into prema, the universal love. Husband and wife both can realize the ultimate truth if they focus on dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Then also we discussed how the love of the master is universal love. Right? So this is what we discussed as the love. Any questions? So in the statement, there's a question here. In the statement, I forget myself. Who is that I that forgets and remembers it? Is it the same I that forgets and remembers? Yes, it is the same I. There's no two I's. The universal self I, Atma, takes the form of Jiva in the form of Chidabhasa. Chidabhasa is nothing but Atma only. Chidabhasa is reflected consciousness of the Atma entering into the body and mind. Chidabhasa is the one which has forgotten the Atma. Chidabhasa remembers I am the Atma. So it is the same self. There's no two selves. Okay, Chidabhasa forgets that I am the Atma and identifies with the ego. Chidabhasa remembers I am the Atma and becomes free. There's only one Atma, one who forgets and one who remembers. Forgetfulness happens when the Atma enters as reflected consciousness of Chidabhasa in the form of Jiva. Remembrance happens through Jnana. Shall we close?